OK, let's move on to one of the other developing stories, not just this week, but for the last month and a half that Matthew Lloyd on this panel has been quite strong on, and that is the hole that the Melbourne Football Club have fallen into. They've now lost 4 of their last 6. They still sit inside the top 4 on percentage. Lloydie, we'll get to you and the problems that they've been having, particularly scoring. But, Caro, are the problems deeper than just what we're seeing on field, do you think?
I think it's time now you can call it a premiership hangover. And by premiership hangover, I'm talking about standards that dropped. We saw it at the Western Bulldogs after 2016, and frankly, we're seeing it at Melbourne now. And it's no coincidence that it began in the middle of last year with the punch-up outside Entrecôte Restaurant in Greville Street, Paran. I know that sounds ridiculous. It was only a handful of players, but it did involve one of their champions in Stephen May. And since then, I think the record is 15-14. I think Pete Ryan wrote about that in The Age today. That is appalling for a club that, looking at their list, should be not just grasping for the top 4, but firmly in the top 4, and went into this year as a premiership favourite.
Is there a question over their lifestyle and the discipline of the players?
Look, I've heard rumours like everyone has. I can't firm any of them up, but I do think there's absolutely no doubt that the standards have not been as strong as they were in 2021.
So I remember one of the club greats, Jared Healy, in grand final week a couple of years ago, talked about before they belted the Bulldogs. Are we on the precipice of a dynasty here? You know, looking at their squad, the age profile of their list, is this going to be something that we look back on, Lloydie, and think that they did a Richmond or they did a Hawthorn, they won 2 or 3 or 4? Does this have, did you think that at the time? And are we going to be looking back just thinking they only won 1 when they could have won more?
I never fall into that, Sam, because I've seen so many sides who look so good one year but are never much good the next year, or they fall back and other teams go past them and they lose their hunger a little bit. So for every Richmond that hung around for ages, or Brisbane or Hawthorn, more often than not they don't go that way. Geelong. So yes, the talent's there, fantastic talent, but it only takes you to lose 1 or 2 players and you come back to the field.
Yeah, I'm not willing to write them off yet. I'm a little bit see it a little bit differently to Lotto, just because they're so strong defensively. And if it clicks, and they're plus 27 in entries on the weekend.
But that's not the problem.
I understand that. This is the problem, and it must be so frustrating for the fans and the club and the coach, because it's the same message week after week.
Yeah, we've got some work to do. It's an area of our game that we've been incredibly strong at through the whole of this year up until the last 3 weeks. And as I said last year, we put a lot of time into our goal kicking, and it's an area that I have absolute confidence with the people running the program and the investment of the players, that'll turn around really quickly. So that's probably the least of my worries. We certainly it's an area we need to get better at and continue to get better at. But yeah, there's no doubt we left a few out there, which kept the game pretty tight in the balance at 3/4 time, which left the door ajar, and Geelong walked through it. And our inefficiency cost us the game for a few weeks in a row now. So we need to get that right as a footy club. We're working incredibly hard on it. I know it'll frustrate our supporters.
It would be frustrating. So there's the numbers. You can see that since round 10, 17th, 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 and averaging 8 goals in their last 6 games. But I think they're going better than what that shows. They've beaten Collingwood, they've gone out in Geelong, and were in that game until the last quarter, and then they've had 73 entries and kicked 5 goals in tough conditions. So I think they can turn it around, but they need some more from some of their players, including Lordo, Christian Petrarca, who is their best player. He's having a really strong season, and maybe this has been a little bit picky, but his kicking has been poor, and he needs to clean that up. Once again, on the issue, 9 of his 17 kicks on the weekend were ineffective. He kicked 0 goals, 4. He's kicked 12 goals, 19 for the year. So he needs to fix that if they want to take a run at this.
Yeah, I think you could say all those things, but we could have said them 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, 10 weeks ago.
You're out? You can't
I've felt this way for a long time. Look at Fritsch, who they've lost. He was the only forward I could trust. Really, he's the only one that... And he's gone down, fractured his foot or whatever he's done. But look at the goal kickers. So you've got Fritsch on 29, Pickett's out of form, Van Rooyen's in the 2s, Chandler's in the 2s, Petrarca's there, and then you brought Ben Brown back, Gawn, Grundy. So I just don't see... It's just not the forwards, it's the way they move the ball that's an issue.
The only thing I'd say that sort of points me more in the Kane direction is that they were having issues in their forward line in 2021 when they won the flag. Ben Brown spent a month in the VFL, Tom McDonald was in and out of the side. They clicked at the right time. And I agree, they're playing horribly, but they're still 4th. So they've put themselves in an OK position.
But as I said, look at the last 6 weeks. Like, this is now where you've got to catapult yourself, and they are just an average.
So
side.
just with Petrarca, he's got to fix that up. But also, love to see Cozzy Pickett go and attend some more centre bounces as well. And some of his numbers on the season from rounds 1 to 10, you can see there he averaged 5.7 centre bounces, and since round 11 he hasn't gone there at all. So that would give them.
Why would that happen?
I've got no idea, because he was going pretty well. Has signed a big
down
deal.
on form?
I don't think he's working hard enough. I thought he was okay on the weekend, and his pressure had increased. But that just gives you something else, a different look, a bit of spark. Gawn's battling, Grundy, and that combination hasn't worked. But I'm not giving up on them. I think they have enough talent. I think they're good enough defensively to turn this around and make a run towards the premiership.
Any changes afoot post-season for the D's, do you think, Cara?
Oh, I think structurally there will be some, and I think Mark Williams' future is in doubt, not necessarily because they want him to go, but because he would be in demand elsewhere, and they do have soft cap issues. A few of their, and a lot of clubs are frustrated by the soft cap, and a few of Melbourne's Tyler's sort of assistants, I think, got some money after Gather Round, when the clubs got that hit of money from Gather Round. I'm not sure about Mark Williams, but I think 3 or 4 really good years at the club, it might be time that he...
So you don't think he'll be there next year?
I think there's a chance, because of soft cap issues and the fact he might be lured elsewhere. I just wonder if there are behavioural standards that have dropped, you have to question how strong Alan Richardson has been, and is he strong enough with this group of players, this incredibly talented group of players that Jared Healy, as you said, were going to create a dynasty and still haven't. And frankly, they're good enough to have done so.